Hey there, Tony with Culinary Seasons. And today I'm in Mount Shasta, and I'm stopping by Northbound Coffee Roasters to speak with the owners, Keith and Jen, about their coffee roasting business and what it takes to get the coffee to your table. I've tried a couple of their coffees, and their coffees are excellent. They source single origin coffee from points around the world. I met Keith a while back at a farm tour, and we were talking about coffee and what he does. We're going to head inside and take a look at what they do. They're going to talk about some roasting and cupping of the coffee. Let's head inside.
We're very quality driven. We love coffee, and that's kind of where it starts. Is we're passionate about it. We also think that we have a unique perspective on coffee that other roasters don't have, and we just want to share what we love with our customers. And honestly, we've been lucky enough to have enough people who value that and follow along. In 1999, Jen was working at a cafe as a barista here in town, and they had a coffee roaster that they had moved up from San Francisco. And the person who operated the coffee roaster quit. And I was working at a local health food store. She knew that I was always interested in coffee roasting. And I went in with a resume to apply for a job. And they asked me one question: can you lift 60 pounds of coffee over your head all day long? And I said yes. And they said, be here Monday. In the next 2 years, I basically learned how to be a machine operator. And that's a lot of coffee roasting, is being able to operate a coffee roaster and making sure it doesn't catch on fire, make sure you hit your marks and finish it as best you can. And after a couple years, I started to realize there must be a lot more to this, because I noticed that my actions at the coffee roaster affected the way the coffee tastes. And so through this, I was able to learn on their equipment. And as I learned, I sought out help and advice from the industry. I turned to the Specialty Coffee Association, and at that time, there was a group within the Specialty Coffee Association forming called the Roasters Guild. And a lot of the roasters of the Roasters Guild were old school roasters that had been around since the 80s and 90s, and they were ready to pass the torch to a new generation. And I was 30 years old and ready to absorb it all. And luckily, they took me under their wing, and I started learning from these folks. And I guess that's when I really started to go down the rabbit hole of coffee and craft. And the folks that I learned from then, I'm still in touch with today, and I make connections in the industry that have lasted until today. I worked at that job for 7 years. Then we decided to open our own roastery and to do our own thing.
When Keith and Jen started Northbound Coffee Roasters, they both brought years of experience. Keith as a roaster and Jen as a barista, both were involved with the cupping of coffee as an essential part of purchasing and roasting. Let's hear from Jen on what it has taken to build their business.
And then when we started here, we basically, we needed two people to push it off the ground. That took a lot of effort and quite a bit of time, actually, just for the business to kind of take its own form. So then I worked here. Keith was the roaster initially. Keith, had been roasting for a couple years and doing just so many things. Really needed a little bit of a break. That was just a natural point where it was so I had been cupping coffee like we had been for a couple years, and so it was essentially for me to move further into coffee. I needed to learn to roast. So I did. He taught me to roast in 2014. Then I became the roaster. So then I was the roaster from 2014 to 2021. We did 2020 all ourselves, and then Matt showed up in 2021.
Right.
So 2014 to 2021, I was the only roaster. Roasting coffee for me is it's really an enjoyable job. There's a lot of craft to it, a lot of angles, which is something that, spoke to Keith initially, just that there was a whole craft to this. But so we took the craft angle, and so, so I did that for many years, and then COVID happened. And so then we laid our only employee at that point off, and we did everything for that whole year ourselves, which was really intense. So we got through that year, and then just as we were really kind of starting to burn out on the whole thing, we had somebody just walk up and hand us a resume, and the guy had 7 years roasting experience in Portland, and so it was just basically perfect. And so at that point, though, that was a big choice for us to turn over the roasting. That was something that we never thought we would turn over to anybody else. And so we were able to turn the roasting aspect over to somebody with a ton of experience initially. Yeah, so then that kind of shifted our business. Like, so
I was gonna say it changes your life.
yeah, it did. It really changed things for us quite a bit, actually. It was good. It was a really good change that we needed at that point.
For us, I think that one strength has been, now that Jen's had so much experience roasting, and we hired Matt for a while, and he was a roaster, and now we've taught Stormy to roast. Our strength is that we're able to collaborate and all chime in on what we think is going on at the cupping table.
Yeah.
So,
So it's basically three roasters like cupping the coffee. And so, because there's a lot of factors, especially in this particular environment, there's a lot of changing factors all the time. So it's almost like trying to hit a moving target constantly.
This process all starts here with this little sample roaster. This sample roaster is what we use to purchase all of our coffees, and that's how we start off with ensuring that we have a quality product. So basically, we'll have all of our brokers send us samples of coffee. The coffee will come in green. We'll roast all the coffees very light on this sample roaster, and then the next day, we'll cup them all blind. And roasting for purchase is a little different than roasting or cupping for production. When we're cupping samples, we cup them blind, so we don't even know what they are, and then we're purchasing the very best coffee. And the truth is that I can buy low quality coffee, but I can't make low quality coffee taste great. However, I can buy high quality coffees and screw them up, and that's why we do the production roasting. These coffees have already been vetted through this sampling process to know that we're buying the very best. Now we need to make sure that we are making them taste their best. When we sample roast, we roast every coffee exactly the same. So whatever is the best or the worst about the coffee will show itself. And so we roast them really light. So you can taste defects when you roast a light coffee. And this can't be hidden behind the roast. And we're trying to buy the best coffees. The other difference when we're cupping our sample roasts for purchase is that we cup them all blind. So we don't have any preconceived notions of, oh, we bought from that farm last year, or we bought from that broker and they always have the best. You know, whatever is amazing about that coffee will show itself in the cup. And it could also eliminate the idea of like price of like, oh, you know, we know that coffee is really expensive, and you know, and so maybe it'll be better, or maybe that won't work for our costs. We try to basically buy the best coffee on the table, no matter what. But I mean, I go through a decent volume of coffee. We're roasting about 40,000 pounds of green coffee a year, and that's substantial for a broker. So this for us is just part of the roast that we developed and the profiles we developed. We want to guarantee that they're consistent every time. And I mean, we incrementally are trying to get better. We're never really happy. I mean, you know, it's basically like one day you'll taste something, you'll be like, oh, that's amazing. But I mean, that is a fleeting moment, really, because that you're always chasing, because the truth is this is a very alive process. Coffee is a crop. It's being harvested, it's being shipped from around the world, and it's peaking at different times. And we have to keep up with that. We also buy direct from folks in Guatemala.
Okay, go.
We have a direct relationship with them, and so that's a little different than dealing with a broker. So this whole process is very measured out and goes back to repeatability. We're weighing out 13 grams of coffee into each bowl. We're pouring hopefully the exact same amount of coffee into each bowl, and then we're letting it steep for 4 minutes. We've set a timer. And then that way we know when the coffee tastes good or bad, that it didn't have anything to do with the way that we brewed the coffee. This also makes it easy for us to taste a bunch of coffees all at once. Now we wait. We're trying to make the profile taste exactly the same every time. Okay, you ready?
Yes.
So each of you have the same.
We have the same coffees from crossing each other. From lightest to darkest, it's Ethiopian Guat, Sumatra, Lamplighter, which is our Mocha Java blend, American Beauty, which is our lighter espresso blend, Mainline, which is our house blend, another sample of Mainline, and Prana, which is our darker espresso.
And all of these are your standard that you carry, or are some seasonal?
We have 10 different rows, and some of them are blends that are flagships that last year round. And then we have some that just are seasonal. Crema you get when you have an espresso, and it interferes with really being able to taste the clarity of the coffee.
This is probably the best post cleaning table we've ever had.
Grab a spoon.
Yeah. It's good. It's good.
After finishing the coffee cupping of yesterday's roast, Keith and Jen bring in Stormy, their main roaster. They then discuss what each coffee notes they found throughout the process. Sweetness, richness, and chocolatey depending on each roast, and how different batches of beans have influenced their roast blends.
Overall, this table is a huge win. Coffees taste better than they did the day before,
Nice.
which for us is a win.
So
we feel like we're quite competent at sourcing quality coffees and delivering them fresh to people. And it's like for us, we have to wear many hats here, and so we've been teaching ourselves marketing and business and social media and bookkeeping, all these other things that we're learning how to do as a small business owner.
I want to thank Keith, Jen, and their crew for allowing me to visit Northbound Coffee Roasters and learn the process of cupping their roasts. In part 2 of the video series, we'll discuss sourcing, purchasing, and roasting, and what it takes to get that coffee to our table. You can pick up their coffee in stores in Northern California and Southern Oregon, and at northboundcoffee.com. Head over to their website, pick up some coffee. You're going to love it. Don't forget to follow Culinary Seasons on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, now on Pinterest, and culinaryseasons.com.